Hello YouTube subscribers and viewers, welcome to another video. My video accidentally cut out last time, so yeah. But as we say, the berserker take down the knight, and the berserker almost falls down too. He survives, and as multiple berserkers fall, they say, actually no, they don't say anything. Oh, over here has a berserker. Oh gosh, the Vikings are falling off. Where did the berserker here go? Two berserkers are dead here, so I'm guessing the other berserker died by falling off. Alright. Oh, we got action! Yeah, that's gonna kill him, I knew it. And as the Viking drops, an arrow hits a man almost in the neck, and he falls off the cliff, which the castle is on. I do not know why I'm doing this accent. And as the knights left the king, and the king was just left with an army of squires, they fight. Oh, and as multiple ice archers try and fight the knights, it does not work. So it's the Jarl versus that entire army. He takes a big swing. He hits the squires. The squires hit, they miss. The king hits, he hits the Jarl, but his men as well. The Jarl falls, but turns around to keep his balance with this huge axe of his. He's trying to take his balance, but the king swings again, where the Jarl does not get a chance to swing a second time. The Jarl is off balance. I'll just try and shoot the Jarl, but the Jarl's too fast. The Jarl he's gonna go for another swing, but the king gets to swing first. The king has killed the Jarl as the Jarl falls off the edge. He yells, "Retreat!" And so the army of Vikings have retreated. Now, 10 years later, the Jarl's son, James Miller, had heard his father has died. So, he is now 15. 10 years later. No, not 10. 5 years later, after the 10-year-old son of the Jarl has, since James Miller, the new Viking leader, he's 15 now, because he was 10 when his father was killed by the king. The king was too old and had to retire. So Jonathan Green had to take his place. Jonathan was the king's son, so they met in one spot. And they were angry. James yelled at the Jarl for his father killing James's father, whose name was Jake. Jonathan's father, who was the original king, who killed Jake Miller. The father of Jonathan was named Johnny. So they yelled at each other, both saying the other should die. Jonathan said that James and his people have pillaged villages multiple times, and James retaliated with his father, that Johnny killed his father Jake, and so he prepared his army. The next day they met again at the broken bridge the Vikings had used to ambush. So James brought many close combat. So he had a line of berserkers ready to attack the enemy by a jump. But he only had one, he only brought 30. Now, the king was also ready for war. The king had got his squires ready, and his knights as well. The king was ready for war, but so was James. They were ready to fight one another, and that's what they exactly planned to do. They were planning on killing each other. Now, we know why the war between Vikings and Kings started by Johnny killing Jake. But how would it end? Would it end with the Vikings winning or the Vikings losing? They do not know, but the squires and the knights had to risk life and limb for the other. They were willing to die for their leaders. The Vikings treated one another fairly, but the king did not treat his men nearly as fairly. And as they both looked at each other, they knew war had started. The king saw only the three archers and an army behind the Jarl. You could tell by the look on his face that he was scared. The Jarl saw a few of the king's soldiers, but the Jarl was ready. Oh! So, the war started. At the bottom, a squire had already fallen from the cliff they were on. The berserker and the squire both attacked. The berserkers would surely win the bottom, not berserkers, the brawlers, the Vikings on the bottom would surely win this first because they had shields. Pause. By the way, everybody, my mom just came down from having a nap. So yeah, that's what the noise was. Right. So as two squires had died from one Viking, they were sure they could take out the others. One Viking for two squires sounds like a good deal, they thought. So they hit the squires. They got very precise moves, and as they had a small one, somehow they managed to hit him. So, as a young squire took down a Viking, he had died as well. So, as the Jarl stayed up there, still turning around, the king had already left. As one knight turned around, because he saw how big the army was, he turned around. But the Vikings fought one king. They knew they'd probably die doing this. Sure, they had shields, but theirs was wood. The knight's was metal. And the knight had more armor than them. The other knight turned around, realizing that with their help, they could win this one battle here. As one Viking was knocked down by this knight, The knight did not know, but the Viking was getting up. But as the Viking tried to attack, he started losing balance. An arrow hit his shield, but he got the knight. As a battle between Vikings waged over squires, a berserker tried to jump in but missed. How would they retaliate? The king was coming down, but the Jarl stayed back. They fought and they fought, but the Vikings knew they would lose this part, but they were willing to die for their leader. I really hope you can actually hear me, otherwise this is just going to be showing a fight. So yeah, as the Viking was hit, his shield blocked it, but he went for a swing and was killed. As both armies came at each other, the knight lunged forward, trying to push them back, giving the squires a chance to back him up. And as we see, a knight has died somehow. I did not see it though. But as the Vikings pushed forward, pushed the knight back, they overwhelmed the knight. But the knight held it back so the king could come through. But there was a long line of Vikings, and they had arrows that would freeze you. But there was friendly fire, and a Viking was hit by an arrow. As the knight was killed, or was he? As the knight was killed, the squires, multiple squires had fallen off, but a berserker pushed them off and was looking up. And as two more berserkers fell off, they knew it was for a good cause. Y'all still coming down to surprise the king. That was the strategy the whole time. Was to leave the king last. The only thing standing between the king and the Jarl's one-on-one fight was the archers on both sides. The king's archers looked kind of normal, but the Jarl's, well, one was kind of cross-eyed, but the other three were ready. Two were cross-eyed, but two others were ready to fight. The king swung. He hit some, but now he had turned his back on the enemy. And as a Viking pushed his friend away from the edge, so his friend would not fall, he fell instead. A Viking tried to pull down the king, but did not succeed. The king swung, hit a Viking. An ice arrow shot a friendly Viking. The king jumped up and he slipped. He thought he would fall, and he was looking up, and with trying to kill the rest of the Vikings, he fell. But the Vikings pushed back against the archers as multiple arrows rained upon the Vikings from friendly fire. They accidentally hit the Ice Age arrows, accidentally hit their own people, but they told one archer to tell the kingdom that the king had fallen. So the Vikings had won. or so they thought. For 3 months later, the kingdom did not realize, but the king was alive. He found a crevice in the he found a crevice in in the mountainside, and he survived that way. The Jarl heard about the king's life, how the king had lived from one of his Vikings telling. So James Miller, the Jarl, said that we would make an ambush at the top of the hill. The king had an army behind him. Nobody saw it, but he did. He had an army. But the king had different plans. But the king was planning